we get to the media stuff. But one, good morning. Good morning again. I hope the lighting is good for you all on Google Meet. But definitely, again, glad you guys are here in person. And I want to just reiterate the importance of being here in person, not just for the sake of attendance or anything like that, but honestly for the sake of building that familiarity with one another and building those relationships. I know that when we were here last week, I know many of you can attest to just the fact that of how comforting it is to be in the room with other folks that are, having these same experiences, building an organization, again, from the ground up. And so we definitely want to encourage you all to show up in person as much as possible. However, we are grateful nonetheless that you're present because we also want to make sure that we do have this available online for those folks, because there will be folks who can't make it certain days, and we don't want you to say, well, you just had to miss out, like, we're sorry. Right? Like, you just missed it. We want to be able to say, well, listen, at least you got to show up online, and definitely as well, we want to make sure that, and we have, I think 2 or 3 cameras going. We also want to make sure that people can look on YouTube and find this information as well. For the people who couldn't show up online even. So again, I don't know where the other 2 participants are at the moment, but even the idea is that nonetheless they can still get this information and share with each other when they do have the time to do so. So again, thank y'all for showing up, being here one more time. The first thing we want to get into is honestly a recap. I really want to get a sense of not only what people got from the last presentation that we had, but also what has been transpiring with you all's organizations in the meantime. Definitely want to make sure that we're also making progress too. So we'll get into a little bit of that today with some of the goal setting. But let me start with the folks, at least one person online. If one person can unmute themselves and share. One, what did you get from the last one? Do you remember from the last one? But then also, what is an update that you can give on how things are going with your process with building your organization, or just how things are going since the last couple of weeks we met? And we'll have a 2-minute time limit, actually.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. But I'm bad with remembering from the last class. But I can truly say, as far as my goals, I set up my Facebook account. I set up my IG account. I went down to the city of Martinez and I registered my business. It's running through the papers now. Also contacted the Secretary of State. What else? And that's pretty much it. I'm just now getting started. I'm so excited.
Good.
That's pretty much it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. One of the guys here, can you guys share anything from what you got from the last one, and then just again what you've been working on since we met?
Sure, I'll go since I was physically here last time. So a couple of things from last time that I recall that I enjoyed was one, being able to meet Mr. Booker, kind of hear his story, and also just hearing the story of YCD and its expansion and its scope, which I didn't realize it was that expansive. So seeing that and seeing the impact that it's had in the community was definitely inspiring, and seeing its growth over the last 4 years. I also really enjoyed the conversation or the idea of what Ms. Newton is looking at, what she proposed of what she's wanting to do to bring us together, with some potential capitalists, and some people who can possibly help, with some of that funding. So that was definitely inspiring. As far as some developments over the last couple of weeks, we just secured a spot at the California Association Collaborative Courts. They're at their annual conference. We'll be putting on the reentry simulation there. It was last time I wasn't 100% sure if they were going to do it or not, but they accepted our bid and our quote. And so now it's secured. So yeah, so February, the end of February, beginning of March is when they're having it's like a 2.5-day conference. So we got that, and we're wrapping up. This is our final week of our first cohort. We have our first students, and it was an interesting process. There were some unexpected things learned, and I'm also, as I'm doing it, like I'm building my team members. So I'm helping them go through that process of understand like, you know, how to operate a program, what the KPIs are, like, and then like, you know, the SWOT analysis aspects, right? What was the strengths, what was the weaknesses? So it's coming together.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. One more person online. Can someone else share? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I can share.
Okay. Go ahead, Gia, go.
Oh, thank you, Candy. Okay, yeah. So I was really excited to be able to be a part of last meetings. Our meeting last time. I appreciated that folks were just so vulnerable in the initial part. That's a really important thing to me, because my business practice has a lot to do with spirituality. So it requires a bit of vulnerability and forgiveness. And I appreciated that from our last meeting, because it allowed me to kind of reach out a little bit more. And so I did reach out to one of the staff persons of YCD, and I received a really, really warm welcome. Just I really appreciate the receptivity that I received. I'm working on another project, and I was able to produce a workshop in the interim of our last meeting that really hit home. Had to do with reentry folk who are just trying to build their own businesses, and just kind of gain some balance with their masculine and feminine energy. And so it was a success. It was at the Bayshore Business Center. And so I'm looking forward to the next 4 workshops. And I appreciate the support that I received from YCD. Just on the first, I wasn't even there. I'm on Zoom, and I'm like, whoa, that's so much love. So it's really cool. So thank you, Jermaine, and thank you, Ms. Newton. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. You are welcome. Glad to hear that. Terrence, give us a little update on how things have been.
Oh, it's been. I wasn't able to make the first time you guys met here because I had a good friend passed away, and I found out on Facebook and it hurt me, so I had to take off to LA and go to a funeral. But just touching bases on my organization, we've been doing community events. And we're trying to secure a space right now as far as what I'm trying to do with the training, the upholstery, the furniture, upholstery, automotive, and designs. I know that I'm going to have to secure probably a warehouse or something to where we can house this program. So that's what I've been working on as of late. But other than that, my nonprofit, we just been doing events in District 10 in Hunter's View. We just did a event for the Halloween event for some underprivileged kids that we was able to purchase their uniform, their costumes for the event, and it turned out to be real nice.
Right.
And Shamana showed up.
Oh, nice.
So it was nice.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. And we have one more person, Candy. Can you share, again, anything you got from the last one, as well as what you've been up to for the last couple weeks? Let me know if you're there, Candy.
Do you want to say Candy?
Yes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Good morning. I am happy to be here and share the space with you guys. I'm going to be in and out. A very, very, very good friend of mine lost her brother, so I'm preparing to go to that funeral. Last week, what I got from it. I enjoy, as always, talking and networking with other people, existing other people who look like me and come from where I come from, doing work in our communities. Let's see, for my organization, we're just trying to get ready for this Black Men Eat Hubs tour that we're trying to secure a grant for at the Bakery Opera House. And if it goes through, I will keep you guys all posted because I would like you guys all to be there, especially the Black men. And I'm complete.
Word. Thank you. So yeah, again, last week we had a good chance to connect with Miss Newton. Again, she did also avail herself to connecting with you all. So for Terrence who wasn't there, Miss Newton is our, let's say, business development head with YCD. And so what she primarily is over is the fundraising for YCD insofar as that can be shared with the executive director. When I connect with him, he's like, I'm always at these different places, different meetings, telling the YCD story. And so it is definitely part of what he does as an executive director. But then also she is basically being given the authority to bring other folks on to also help share the story of YCD again to potential funders, right? But not just sharing it to potential funders, but also sharing it with funders that are already there, and what they say is courting or just maintaining those relationships, right? What we don't want to have are relationships with a funder where we get the ask, they drop whatever how much they were going to donate, and then we say, well, thank you all, you guys have a good one, maybe we'll be in touch. It's like, no, like, you keep that relationship going for all intents and purposes, right? Whether it's for other donations, whether it's, again, just for the sake of keeping that relationship alive, for the sake of other relationships that can be built from that relationship, but definitely emphasizing the importance of not only networking, but continual, consistent fundraising, right? Continual and consistent fundraising. And so I'm glad that she got a chance to connect with us, discuss not only what she does, but she also shared a little bit about who she is, right? Where she grew up, who she grew up around, the type of experience she had both in college and after college, types of skills that she's acquired, but also, again, where she's trying to go with her career currently, and how she sees herself fitting in with YCD's goals and mission statement. And so that was definitely a good opportunity for us. I will definitely bring her back, so there will be time for you to connect with her and others to connect with her. But I definitely want to emphasize that everybody can't avail themselves like Miss Newton, so I definitely want to encourage you all. She gave you the information. She will be getting back to you as soon as possible. There will be speakers that will be like, hey, I'll do what I can. But honestly, I'm going to be bringing in executive directors. And so again, there's no telling how available they'll be, how much time they'll have to spend with folks and respond to emails and things like that. So definitely let's take advantage of the folks who are available to receive those calls and those emails. Miss Gia is actually getting assistance right now with a grant that she is going to be applying for, so Miss Newton's going to kind of work with her on that. And so again, we never know how useful that information will be, or how useful the people are, but it can be the difference of receiving a grant or not receiving a grant, right? So let's definitely utilize these relationships. And so thank y'all again for sharing everything. What we're going to be covering today is a few different things. We do want to go over a SWOT analysis. We also want to go over SMART goals, and we will also want to go over what our whys are. And we'll discuss, of course, why that's important, why any of these are important, but definitely going to be doing that. So let me say, one, the people who are present, we do have worksheets. The first one is the SWOT analysis. You guys both have it open. For the people online, I do not have something for you guys to write on, of course, but there are things like that. So I will definitely make sure to keep that in mind the next presentation that we create. But I will say, for the time being, if you can all, again, use your phones, use your apps to write. We will be discussing what the SWOT analysis is. Actually, I imagine that most of you guys know what it is, if not everybody already, so it probably won't be very extensive. But I do nonetheless want us to go through it so that, one, we get a clear idea about where we're at currently in our organizations, and then, of course, what can we do, one, in the 4-month period that we have together, and what types of goals can we set around those opportunities while we're here, because we definitely don't want everyone to just kind of like receive a bunch of information and then go home and do nothing with it, right? So we want to put some goals out there. We want to share what our goals are, but then also make sure that we're holding each other accountable throughout the 4-month process so that we're actually making something happen with this information and with our network that we're creating here. Does anyone have any questions about that? Cool. All right, so the SWOT analysis. The first time I encountered the SWOT analysis, I was in college. I was working, I wouldn't say it's my first job, definitely not my first job, but one of the first more involved jobs that I had, and we actually had to do SWOT analysis every single week. I was doing a youth program at our school, and we always kind of examine, okay, how did the main event go? How did the outreach go during the week? How did everything go with the kids? Did anybody have any struggles? Whatever it is. And then we also looked at what are the things that we need to like make sure we don't do anymore, make sure that we do from here on out, to make sure that the next week is a better week given what we experienced this week and given what we already know. And so SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. All of these are very important. I imagine that it's very clear, especially when it comes to strengths and weaknesses. We may have taken personality tests, right, where we go, oh, well, I know what I'm good at. I know what we are already doing. I know what I struggle with. But sometimes it ends with that. And so what we also definitely want to make sure is we are paying attention to the opportunities that we have as an organization, even sometimes as an executive director, right? Some folks are still getting things started, but we do want to acknowledge, hey, like these are the opportunities that I have coming up. This is what I can take advantage of, but also definitely acknowledging any of the threats, right? Whether it's finances, whether it's the folks that we have around us, the folks that we don't have around us, right? And how those things can impact what we're trying to accomplish ultimately if we do not take care of those threats that are on the horizon, right? Some things are already happening, some things just might be happening in a matter of weeks if we don't take care of those things. And so I will also, so we should also pay attention to those things as well. The SWOT analysis is great for self-assessment. I bring this up because what we acknowledge, folks may acknowledge, is that assessing other people and other things is really easy to do, right? It's really, really easy to point out what's wrong with somebody else, right? What they didn't do, what they said that they could have said better, I would have liked it if they would have just, right? We can definitely assess other folks with great detail, with great emotions, with great specificity. However, it is oftentimes very difficult for us to assess ourselves. Oftentimes we don't know what are our best options until we ask ourselves the right questions. And so I bring that up because the SWOT analysis manages to ask a lot of the very important questions we have to ask ourselves. As it pertains to it, let's see. All right, I think we're gonna get right now. Okay, so now we'll get into some of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So when we think about the strengths that we have, we want to acknowledge, who's in our network, right? Let's acknowledge who are the folks that can possibly be, who are not possibly, because those are opportunities, who are already assets. They are already assets, they're already helping out. This is already working out for us. What program that we're doing that's already working? What are the methods that are already working? What are those called? The equipment that we have. It's already helping us out. We are already doing this part well, right? So when we write down those, we're doing the S right now. Let's write down our strengths. What is already working out for us? What we're good at. right? What we're competent in, what we know that we're good at, what we know we're going to be good at. Given the opportunity, once the money comes in, we already know that we know how to do this, right? If there are grants, we already know that we have writers, we already know that we are connected to folks who are good with writing, or we already know who can help us manage our money, right? When it comes to the W, when it comes to the weaknesses, we want to acknowledge, okay, this is where we need help in this organization, right? This is what I'm trying to accomplish, yeah, but we're not there yet, right? We're not good on this part, we're not handling this particularly well, or we don't know about this stuff yet, right? We're partly in this room because we don't know everything, right? So these are some of the things that we know that we're not efficient in or proficient in, and we want to acknowledge those right now so that we know in the coming weeks and months, these are the types of things that we can potentially work on. Also acknowledging that sometimes we also want to build on those strengths. So let's just make sure that we're writing those strengths and weaknesses down. Moving on a little bit to the explanation just for the opportunities. Of course, anything that we are doing that, anything that we can see as an opportunity for us to continue to do that thing. I actually did a SWOT analysis when I was at the beginning of last year, and I recognized that there were some opportunities that I could have with our son, right? So we have a son, working with him, and I recognize when I'm at home, I'm business, this is where chores, where homework, where maybe a little bit of entertainment, but for the most part, it's about taking care of everything that we can take care of. However, the opportunity for building the relationship was when we are away from the house and there's hardly any rules. Acknowledging the opportunities that we have to have a good time was what I was doing in that particular thing. But as it pertains to this, in our organization, we're thinking, you know what, we're good at this. What we could do more of is this. Now we're not doing it currently, but what we could do more of, because we rocked it last time we did that, right? Last time we did this, it really worked out. There's an opportunity on the horizon, whether it's a grant, whether it's, I know somebody who might be able to help us out with something. They are an opportunity on the horizon, right? There is an event coming up, and that event will connect us with other folks. Let's take advantage of those opportunities, whether it's for networking, right? Whether it's for bringing other people onto your team, whether it's for, again, raising funds, whatever the opportunity is, let's put that in the O box for the opportunities. And definitely make sure we get those down. And then, of course, the threats are all those things that can potentially harm our organization, harm what we're trying to do, harm what we are trying to accomplish. And honestly, given that we're the executive directors, we're thinking about the things that are in our personal lives too, right? Sometimes there are folks, sometimes there are environments, sometimes there are issues that we have in our personal life that we know if this gets out of hand, if this isn't taken care of, this definitely can negatively impact what I'm trying to accomplish. And so that is definitely can go under the threats box, right? And so I'm imagining that y'all are writing inside, they're writing over here. I'm imagining that you guys online are also writing. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple more minutes to continue to write, but then we can definitely take some time to share some of the things that we have written down in these different boxes. So I'll give it, let's say, 2 more minutes for y'all just to write, acknowledging the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If y'all have any questions online, please feel free to share those.
Hey, I raised my hand.
Yep.
You know, Jermaine, I think you're doing like a superior job. I just, there's one thing that I would like to master during this program is facilitation. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm taking notes on how you're doing your thing.
I hear that. I hear that. Thank you. But I hear that, and that definitely can be, again, maybe if it's a weakness you have, but would you say it's a strength or a weakness?
Yeah, it's a weakness
A
for
weakness.
me because I stutter a little bit. I get anxiety. You know, public speaking is not my thing. You know, but I'm oftentimes placed in front, you know, of crowds, and I'm just trying to, you know, and I'm watching you, and I'm like, woo, he is debonair. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not trying to gas you up. I'm just saying, you know, this is something that I need to work on for me, so
Right.
that I can, you know, be empowering for others.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I hear that. And no, and I'm actually glad that you shared too, because it's something that, one, takes time, energy, effort, but it's also something that I think about too. And so I'm glad that you share that, because I have to also be a little bit more conscious of the things that I'm doing, what I'm not doing, but all of it takes effort. So one, thanks for acknowledging that. And definitely I want to encourage you on that journey, because facilitating can be, you already know, public speaking is like above, you know, death. Everybody's afraid of public speaking.
You get people who, you know, they want their opinion to be heard no matter what, and they, you know, they tend to override. That's been my challenge. And me, because I have a different type of background, you know, so I listen and I recognize folks who want to be recognized, and then I get so compassionate that sometimes I lose my voice in facilitation in listening to their story. You know, and it's I gotta get, I don't know, so I'm just watching. Thank you.
Okay. No, you're welcome. This is good. This is good. So yeah, that did conclude the 2 minutes. I do want to ask if anyone is interested in sharing a couple of the strengths that they have already in their organization that they know is already there. Definitely want to hear any of those strengths. Yeah, you're willing. Okay, Terrence is
I
going to
can say a strength that I have in the organization as far as what I'm trying to do is bringing a training into the community, a skill set and all that. I know that my strength is that I have the years of experience in what I'm trying to host to the community, what I'm trying to start a training in. So I know that my strength is I have the know-how.
Right.
I am highly qualified to teach and train and do what I'm trying to do. But my weakness is getting it into grant writing, as far as turning it into what I'm thinking of, into a grant to where I can get it down on paper.
Right.
So I know that that's where my weakness is at. That's why I'm here, because I want to learn more about grant writing, or even getting in touch with funders, somebody that can bring my vision into fruition.
Right.
And I like the opportunity piece as well, because I was trying to get funding for the Halloween event we were trying to do, and everybody was contacting me saying that their funds had dried out to the next cycle, right?
Right.
And so I started thinking they're developing in the community, and they have Nebby and another Cahill up there, and something hit me. I had a friend that always told me, when they developing in your community, and you have a nonprofit, you should be able to go over there and get some money or something and let them know who you are, introduce yourself. So I said, wait a minute. Put on the suit, I grabbed my books, I went over and I said, hey, I'm Terrence Silas from the T. Silas Foundation. We're trying to host an event. How would you guys like to be a sponsor of the event? And this is, I was talking to the Navy superintendent. And so he said, well, let me look you up. You have a site? So I gave him my site, and he looked us up online. Day later, I got a call saying, hey, we'd love to sponsor your event. We'd love. And so I understand that when you have an opportunity, you have to go for it.
Right.
And I learned that from my friend. And so they funded us $7,500 to host the event.
Nice.
You know,
that's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Sweet. So one, I'm just glad that that's being shared. Because yeah, you know, honestly, we think of all of like the largest grants, right? We think of large grants. We think of us being funded for a fiscal year by a particular grant. But there are these opportunities, whether it's in person, like Miss Newton was speaking to, or whether it's other grants that are what they call micro grants.
Mm-hmm.
They can be, again, up to $5,000. It's not going to take care of the whole program, but it can take care of an event. It can take care of a period of time in which you guys need some funding. And so I'm glad that one, that came up, but then two, you definitely shared that. Anyone else want to share any of their strengths that they know that they have in the org? I'm thinking this is the easiest one to do because this is like our time to shine, right? It's like, I know we got this, so I'm trying to. You wanna share?
I was just trying to leave some space for some others.
Here.
I would say one really good strength that we have is a couple of our advisors on our advisory board. They definitely having a good team and having a good team is one thing, but also having like good advisors who can connect you with the connections that you need and put you in the places where you need to be.
Right.
I have two really. We have a couple strong ones, but two really like go above and beyond and stand out, and,
right.
and that's a strong strength that we have.
Mm-hmm.
That helps us get in the right places and positions us in the right spot.
Right. And actually, it brings up the question around: are these advisors part of the board, or are they like potentially part of the board?
Yeah. So we have a fiscal sponsor,
Mm-hmm.
so we don't have our own board. Because the fiscal sponsor, they have their own stuff. So this is just an advisory board.
Mm-hmm.
But if and when we decide to get our own 501c3, then definitely would want to be able to pull them into the board. Board of directors.
Okay.
Instead of just advisors.
Right. Okay. Cool. So again, that's a little gem too, even for the folks who don't have fiscal sponsors. That there are once you're under an organization that is your fiscal sponsor, that their board of directors acts as yours. But at the same time, you can have folks around, right, that you can have as, like you mentioned, advisors, because you do want to nonetheless have folks around that you are getting insights from, additional information. Oh, let me connect you with ... because they also did or are also doing this. And so that is something actually we'll get a little bit more into. I believe our next presentation, our speaker is going to be talking to us about boards, the importance of the boards, but also how it has worked out for her organization to have one and stuff. But yeah, moving right along. Anyone else want to share a strength online by chance?
Jermaine, Shanita.
Mm-hmm.
Just being highly educated now on breast cancer, how to avoid it as far as eating healthier, how to deal with emotional stress that it may bring. So I feel like because I've been there, I have the experience and I know what they're going to need. I know the resources that they're going to need, the information, the support, and so forth.
Right. That's real. And just as we affirmed that last time, right, having been through something, having experienced something definitely gives you a level of experience, a level of knowledge, and understanding about a situation that, again, other folks who have read about it, may have watched a documentary, may have, heard about it, definitely can't speak to it with the same authority, the same understanding that you do. So like you just mentioned, that knowledge, just like Terrence mentioned, that knowledge of having already done this stuff is definitely what takes us to another level in our what we can offer as an organization. And so I even want to move, again, going from the easier things to the opportunities. Again, Terrence did mention that there was an opportunity to speak with someone. He actually had to go change clothes, right? He actually had to bring information, help make sure that he presented himself and his organization in the best light. There was a website, right? We could even talk about that. But what are some of the opportunities that you all already know are on the horizon? regardless of what area the opportunity is in, right? It could be with funding, it could be with new hires, it could be with acquiring another skill, right? There can be workshops just like with this one where you're like, oh, well here I get to learn this. I heard about this other program, so when I'm done with this, I can possibly join another cohort and learn some more things, but whatever, right? So what are some of the opportunities that you all already see for in the coming weeks and months for your organization? Anyone online or anyone in person? Oh,
Well, I'm out reaching out to some breast cancer survivors
uh-huh.
and just chatting with them to see what was it, or what was the support you didn't get that you would have liked to get, so I know what to offer. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So what to offer. So that's a good opportunity for me. Talking to survivors and also talking to those that are experiencing it now alone.
That's good. That's good. Thank you for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that. Especially if you are in touch with them, you know folks who can get you in touch with them. That sounds great. That sounds like a great opportunity. And again, sometimes the opportunities are ones that are coming towards us, that are approaching us, but sometimes we can even use our imagination to think of some of the opportunities that we can take advantage of too. Like I feel like that one is one where you're thinking of things you can do versus things that are, on the horizon that are coming to you that you can take advantage of. But if you can reach out to people, that's definitely an opportunity as well. Any of you guys in here? Any opportunities you want to share?
I feel as far as opportunities is what I've been doing since I'm back on track with trying to get this vision to come to reality is just dealing with heads of departments in the States. I have an appointment with Dr. Davis, and then I had a cousin that James Caldwell, he works under the mayor. So I'm like, man, you know what? Instead of me working for the bottom, how can I position myself into different areas where, you had the Dream Keepers money, that people are getting money through Dream Keepers, you have might come through city, but even I'm trying to focus more on the private sector, like big corporate companies and stuff like that, because just to give an example, I try to follow the lead of my daughters. They're up in Oakland and they started a foundation called So Oakland. And you know what they tell me? I don't even deal with city money. You know what I mean? Because they say that is too much of a headache and this and that. They want to put you through too much stuff. But we go after private, corporate money to where as long as you do what you say you're going to do on paper, you're not going to get all of those channels. So my thing is, I just been trying to follow their lead and going to some corporation, and all it is if you're the leader of a company, like when I was running my for-profit business, I had to understand that there's always going to be racism out there in the field. But I had to learn that you can't be afraid to go in because you are the lead of your company. You can't be afraid to step before white, black, Chinese, whatever.
Right.
So I just had to know how to address it and go in and sell myself as best as I can. And that's ways I start pulling contracts. And so I'll flip it as far as in this nonprofit sector is I'd rather deal with heads of corporation and stuff to let it rain down into where once if somebody would give me some funding, they send me to somebody and say, hey, y'all deal with Mr. Cyrus. We want to see that you can get this going. So it just those type of opportunities is what I've been going after. I've been back.
Right. Interesting. And you mentioned So Oakland. Is So Oakland
it's a group of young ladies that was in Oakland. College girls got together and they was feeding people. They started off feeding people, and then they started doing events,
Yeah.
bringing community.
I'm
together.
pretty sure I know what you're talking about, so I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, hold on. That's why I did this.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh,
hold on,
okay.
we talking about South Oakland?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my daughter's in that group, and
Sweet.
yeah, so they end up
Sweet.
getting some major money through
Yeah.
private people.
Yeah, yeah.
They just-
Okay.
And they wanted to give them money, and they didn't have a 501c3 out the start, and they told them, go get it. And we
Right.
got funding.
and come back, right?
Yeah.
That's
You
what's
know.
up. That's what's up. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know Gia had a hand raised. I was able to see that. Did you want to share something, Gia?
Hey, here I am.
Okay, cool.
You know, okay, so I was just thinking, there's a gratitude that I have, and there are certain trigger points that I appreciate, and I recognize there is a part of what we're doing that we can kind of move forward, together in a way that we can maybe do some collaborative events. I recognize that this cohort is necessary, and it's triggered so much. And I'll be honest with you, I am, I'm a clairvoyant, but I'm a Montessori, I'm an art chick. So I kind of pop out around, and so I have several different theories and ideas about what just happened. So I came up with like 3 different business plans during this conversation. So what I would like to do is identify those 3, and figure out if we can create some other workshops or some other programs. I don't know. I'm just a weird kind of thinker. I'm outside the box. But in terms of my strategies and my goals, and what was the other one?
Well, we're talking about the SWOT analysis. So we're talking about strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. So yeah, are there any opportunities you can share in them that you see on the horizon?
I'm sorry, and opportunities, that was the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And so in opportunities, so I'll take this from my notes. So I found, here it goes. So I'm working with MOHDC and NCLF, and I am a better choice, housing, and the opportunities in the current climate that are most traumatizing for my target market is the housing epidemic. And there's been a need for advocacy around housing. But I am, and the reason why I don't really talk about it is because I'm torn between reentry, advocacy, and housing. And so reentry needs housing, and that's always an issue. Reentry needs housing, they kind of go hand in hand. And particularly in San Francisco, when you can walk down, next to the federal building right there, and you can see the most expensive buildings and the most desolate human beings on the sidewalk. So it's really, for me, it's disheartening. So the opportunities, I'm not quite sure, and I'll be transparent, I'm not quite sure how to navigate through funding resources through nonprofits or for nonprofits in San Francisco. I had a housing program. I sponsored a housing program, and I've been in Frisco for about 5 years. And there's a little bit of a, there's like a thread. There's like a, there's a way that you have to I don't know. It's just I don't know if it's politics. I don't know if it's supremacy. I don't know what it is. But I'm trying to figure out how do you get funding and resources to the people that need them, specifically around reentry, around community with the youth who are being misguided, and housing. So I think where the opportunities lie, and this is what I put in my homework, are in the underground nonprofit organizations who are uprooting from COVID relief. There's a lot of funding that's coming out of COVID relief. And they're attempting to recover. You can't recover. I lost my business, my house. I lost a lot of stuff during COVID. So you can't recover that. But there's funds so that people can attempt to just, find sanity again.
Right,
I lost 3 people, lives, during COVID. My dad was one of them. So you can't, I'm not trying to give anybody a hardship, make nobody cry. I'm just saying, when you say the opportunities, I'm really trying to figure it out. Where are the opportunities? Where are they? Because we are a lost community. We were already lost before COVID.
Right.
And then COVID hit. And so those of us who was just kind of on the boat,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who were still just trying to get there. So where is the opportunity?
Right.
And that's really the reason why I'm even a part of this program. I'll be honest with you, because I've been a part of cohorts that were compensated, and this is a free one.
Right.
And I said to myself, I don't need to be compensated in order to get the information YCD is putting out. They don't have to pay me in order for me to show up. So I'm here, but I'm trying to figure out with my purpose and what I've accomplished and what I know that I've suffered through, and the people in my target market and my circle have suffered through. What are the opportunities?
Right.
I'm still trying to figure it out. That's my answer. I'm not really sure. I've been the president of the American Legion, right across from London Bridge, and I have knocked on doors. Maybe I didn't knock hard enough. But I have, I don't know.
Well, I definitely hear you. And I say, one, again, that's why we're here, right? So that when we can not only facilitate information, but also connect one another to what we do know, what we have heard, what could possibly work. And so I definitely say that we hop on a call sometime in the next couple of weeks in which we can talk with people who work in housing. We honestly, YCD does have a housing component. I would say that if not one of the 3 main things that we do, I think Mr. Brookter said we do workforce development, education, and I think housing was the 3rd one. And so that could very much so be a conversation, at least pointing you again into answering some of those questions, right? Like, where is the funding? Who's giving it? What does it take to get those funds for those folks? But also, my mind definitely jumps to again, possibly getting connected with other organizations that are doing similar work and again have had some success around it, so they could also inform you on what does it look like to get those grants, what does it look like to house folks successfully and find the funding for that. So yeah, 1, glad you're here, but then 2, let's definitely reconnect outside the room to get some more conversations going around that.
Can I just add something to that?
Sure.
There was a lot of things like what I heard. There was there's a tremendous amount of issues going on in the community, just in the nation, in the local area, wherever, right? One of the things that it made me think about, a mentor I had while I was in prison, and he who's a very successful business person before he went into the federal system. One of the things that he had told me was, because I was I wanted to like solve all these problems, right? To focus, right? Focus on something that you can do really well, and focus on that specific thing instead of trying to solve all the things. And the analogy that he had used was the sun shines, the sun shines everywhere, but it only burns, right, where you focus it, with like a magnifying glass. And so if you take that, that magnifying glass and focus on one of those, I think I heard about 3 or 4 different things in there: mental health, housing, reentry, right? If you focus on the one thing, let that ignite that fire there, and then that fire can spread. But if you just put the sun on a field of grass, nothing's catching on fire, right? Because that light is spread out everywhere, it's not being focused anywhere, and you're not able to get anything burning. So from what I took from what he said, was like, really don't try to solve all the problems. Identify the one opportunity, right, that you can focus on, that is a need, and put your attention on that instead of trying to solve so many different things, because it'll never catch. Right? It'll never catch on fire.
I honestly just want to give it a second to breathe because I know that from experience, but I also just again want to just sit with that for a second, because I do know last cohort, one of the folks in there in particular that we work with a lot, we have our one-on-one meetings, and it would just be like, don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? Like, let me reiterate, we do care about all of these things, and all of these things are important. You can't do it all, and this is someone who very active, so it wasn't like it was just like, they're just on the phone, right, and they're just, talking about issues. No, it's like they were like here on Monday, and they were here on Tuesday, and then Tuesday night they were there, and it's like, like, don't get me wrong, I am glad that you are doing a lot. However, I'm very concerned with all that you're trying to do, and we definitely see, not only for the sake of the organization being successful, but for the sake of your own mental health, right? Your own physical health, the burnout, whatever it may be, emotional health. In some respect, there's no way for one person to do it all. But definitely in another respect, that's why we have each other. That's why we have. That's why there are other organizations, right, who are already doing certain things. That's why there's referrals versus, I'll do it. It's like, hey, who can do it though? Let me get you in contact with that person. So that is something to, I would honestly say for all of us, just to be mindful of at different times, because sometimes it's ideas, sometimes it's opportunities. When we talk about opportunities arising, sometimes it is a great opportunity, and it will literally cause you to have to put down whatever you're doing and turning and focusing on something else, and you might have to go, I can't do it. Like, as much as like my heart burns for what I just heard and what someone said, all you gotta do is, I know that if I did this, it would take my focus away from what I need to focus on, so I'm not gonna do all that. And that's honestly super hard to do, depending on how close it is to your heart. It can be super hard to do that. And again, attesting that from personal experiences. But definitely, nonetheless, I would say right along with what he was saying, insofar as there is something that you want to do, again, that's why we're here, is to start answering those questions for you, getting you in contact with those folks, who get those things moving, and see some results. I mean, honestly, more than I want to be up here just talking, I definitely want to see some results for y'all, and y'all being, your organization being impacted by what we do. So, once more, let's talk soon, Gia. If anyone else wants to share an opportunity, we have time. Cool. But also, I want to get into any weaknesses. Again, this really gets, especially when we're talking about goals for the next number of months. Sometimes some weaknesses we can get by with, right? Like I'm not so good at, but you know what? As long as I I do this with my strengths, I really should be fine. However, some weaknesses end up becoming threats too, right? So, who would anyone like to share, again, just one, or you can share more than one, but just one weakness, one thing where you go, this is not what I'm good at, this is not what my circle is good at, I'm still trying to find folks who can actually help out with this. This is definitely not one of our strengths.
Public speaking.
Okay, Shanita, okay. Public speaking, can you elaborate at all? I mean, have you tried it and it was like so difficult? Like, what are your thoughts around it?
Oh, it's like I be feeling like anxiety, like everybody in the room is staring at me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect the wrong words, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just get nervous. It's like I know what I want to say, but now it's a full room of people, and I don't know, I just get nervous. Mm-hmm. And I want to try to beat that, and it just seems like I can't beat it.
I hear that. Totally hear that. I know that I'm also in front of the room right now, so I know it's probably like, yeah, right. But I do hear it. I do understand it. And I would definitely, again, we can also talk about that too. I know what has helped me definitely is time doing it in different settings, finding the most, the setting that kind of works for you best, and really getting comfortable. And then again, sometimes the setting changes, and then you go, oh, well, I'm actually still pretty comfortable, but at the end of the day, just like what Gio was saying, that is something that we probably all can relate to some degree. But there are ways, one, to move forward with it, but honestly, given the internet, given the way that we can get the word out these days, given the extent to which we can literally just be talking to the screen and thousands of people can watch, public speaking is nonetheless a big thing. However, the internet does offer many alternatives to having the public speak in order to get your message out. So I just want you to just acknowledge that opportunity. There are people that I follow that I have no interest in seeing them in a conference, but I want all their information. What they know is what I need to hear, and so I will watch that video, I will watch the next video, I will, buy the video, whatever I have to do, because the information is so important. However, I may not go again and pay $200 to go see them speak in San Francisco. It's okay. Okay, that's a lot. But
That's like you said, you wouldn't pay $200 to go hear them again. See, I don't want to be that person. You know?
Yeah.
I want to be able to attract my audience. You know?
Right.
I be that person where you say, I'm not paying to go hear Shanita again.
Right. I hear that. But yeah, we'll talk about it. And actually, yeah, when we chop it up, I'll have some time to share with that, because there again, like I said, there are opportunities in different capacities too.
Well, I think I was hearing something different too, though. Like I think I was hearing what you were saying as you were talking about using a different platform, right? Like a person, like you may not go watch somebody in like as a public speaker speaking, like at a conference, right? But you would watch them on a YouTube video, disseminating that information,
right?
Right, because that's where their talent was,
right?
And so I don't think it was so much that like you still be watching them on the YouTube, right? If they've had some other content or other videos that were going out, that's a different platform than having a good skill set in front of people where you might just freeze up, right?
Right.
Because they could do it, they could retake, they can do things on that YouTube where you're not doing it live in front of people because that's not their skill set. So it's just a different platform to still disseminate the information. That may be your strength and your talent, and it also directly relates to like one of our weaknesses. What I've been learning to navigate, being that we're relatively new, is I don't have enough staff with specific skill sets. I have staff that are highly passionate about their work. They've got skin in the game. They really I can't believe they've